Hello, my name is Emma. Today I'll be reading Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling. Chapter 4 At Flourish and Blots. Life at the Burrow was as different as possible from life in Privet Drive. The Darcys liked everything neat and unexpected and ordered. But the Weasleys had spats of the strange and unexpected. Harry got a shock the first time he looked in the mirror over the kitchen mantelpiece as it shouted, "Tuck your shirt in, Scruffy." The gal in the attic howled and dropped pipes whenever he thought things were getting too quiet. And small explosions from Fred and George's room were considered perfectly normal. What Harry found most unusual about life at Ron's, however, wasn't the talking mirror or the clunking gown. It was the fact that everybody there seemed to like him. Mrs. Weasley fussed over the state of his socks and tried to force him to eat 4 helpings at every meal. Mr. Weasley liked Harry to sit next to him at the dinner table so that he could bombard him with questions about life with Muggles, asking him to explain how things like plugged and postal services worked. Fascinating, as Harry talked him through using a telephone. Ingenious, really. How many ways Muggles have found of getting along without magic. Harry had heard from Hogwarts one sunny morning, about a week after he had arrived at the Burrow. He and Ron went down to breakfast to find Mr. and Mrs. Weasley and Ginny already sitting at the kitchen table. The moment she saw Harry, Ginny accidentally knocked her porridge bowl to the floor with a loud clatter. Ginny seemed very prone to knocking things over when Harry entered a room. She dived under the table to retrieve the bowl and emerged with her face glowing like the setting sun, pretending he hadn't noticed. Harry sat down and took the toast from Mrs. Weasley offered him. "Letters from school," said Mr. Weasley, passing Harry and Ron identical envelopes of yellowish parchment, addressed in green ink. "Dumbledore already knows you're here, Harry. Doesn't miss a trick, that man. You've got them too," he added, as Fred and George ambled in, still in their pajamas. For a few minutes there was silence as they all read the letters. Harry told him to catch the Hogwarts Express, as usual, from King's Cross Station on September the 1st. There was also a list of the new books he needed for the coming year. Soccer students will require The Standard Book of Spells, Grade 2, by Miranda Goldschark. Break with a Banshee, by Gilderoy Lockhart. Gathering with Ghouls, by Gilderoy Lockhart. Holidays with Hags, by Gilderoy Lockhart. Travels with Charles, by Gilderoy Lockhart. Voyages with Vampires, by Gilderoy Lockhart. Wanderings with Werewolves, by Gilderoy Lockhart. Year with the Yeti, by Gilderoy Lockhart. who had finished his own list, peered over at Harry's. "You've been to get all Lockhart's books too," he said. The new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher must be Fan. Bet it's a witch." At this point, Fred caught his mother's eye and busied himself with the marmalade. "That lot won't come cheap," said George with a quick look at his parents. "Lockhart's books are really expensive." "We'll manage," said Mrs. Weasley, but she looked worried. "I expect we'll all have to pick up a lot of Ginny's things second hand." "Oh, you're starting Hogwarts too this year?" Harry asked Ginny. She nodded, blushing to the roots of her flaming hair, and she put her elbow in the butter dish. Fortunately, no one saw this except from Harry, because just then Ron's elder brother, Percy, walked in. He's already dressed, his Hogwarts prefect badge pinned to his knitted tank top. "Morning all," said Percy briskly. "Lovely day." He sat down in the only remaining chair, but leaped up again almost immediately, pulling from under him a molten grey feathered duster. At least that was what Harry thought it was, until he saw that it was breathing. "Errol," said Ron, taking a limp out from Percy and extracting it from its ring. "Finally," he's got Hermione's answer. "I wrote her saying we're going to try and rescue you from the Dursleys." He carried Errol to a perch, stepped inside the back door and tried to stand him on it. But Errol flopped off straight again. So Ron laid him on the draining board instead, muttering, "Pathetic." Then he ripped open Hermione's letter and read it aloud. "Dear Ron and Harry, if you're there, I hope everything went all right and that Harry is okay and that you didn't do anything illegal to get him out of it, because that would get Harry into trouble too. I've been really worried, and if Harry is all right, will you please let me know at once? But perhaps it will be better if you used a different app, because I think another delivery might finish your one off. I am very busy with school work, of course. How can she be?" said Ron in horror. "We're on holiday, and we're going to London next Wednesday to buy my new book. Why don't we meet in Diagon Alley?" "Let me know what's happening as soon as you can. Love, from Hermione." "Well, that fits nicely. We can go and you'll get all your things too," said Mrs. Weasley, starting to clear the table. "What are you all up to today?" Harry, Ron, and Fred and George were planning to go up the hill to a small paddock the Weasleys owned. It was surrounded by trees that blocked it from a view of the villages below, meaning that they could practice Quidditch there as long as they didn't fly too high. They couldn't use real Quidditch balls, which would have been hard to explain if they had escaped and flown away over the village. Instead, they threw apples for each other to catch. They took it in turns to ride Harry's Nimbus 2000. Nimbus which was easily the best broom. One's old shooting stars was often outstripped by butterflies. 5 minutes later, they were marching up the hill, broomsticks over their shoulders. They had asked Percy if they wanted to join them, but he said he was busy. Harry had only seen Percy at mealtime so far. He stayed shut in his room the rest of the time. I wish I knew what he was up to, said Fred, frowning. He's not himself. His exam results came the day before you did. 12 hours, and he hardly gloated at all. Ordinary wizarding levels, explained, seeing Harry's puzzled look. Bill got 12 too. If we're not careful, we'll have another head boy in the family. I don't think I could stand the shame. Bill was the oldest Weasley brother. He and the next brother, Charlie, had already left Hogwarts. Harry had never met either of them, but knew that Charlie was in Romania studying dragons and Bill in Egypt working for the Wizards' Bank. Gringotts. Don't know how Mum and Dad are going to afford all our school stuffs this year, said George after a while. 5 sets of Lockhart books. And Ginny needs robes and a wand and everything. Harry said nothing. He felt a bit awkward. Stored in an underground vault at Gringotts in London was a small fortune that his parents had left him. Of course, it was only in the wizarding world that he had money. You couldn't use gallons, circles, and nuts in muggle shops. He had never mentioned his Gringotts bank's account to the Dursleys. He didn't think the horror of anything connected with magic would stretch to large pile of gold. Mrs. Weasley woke them all early the following Wednesday. After a quick 6 bacon sandwiches each, they pulled on their coats and Mrs. Weasley took a flower pot off the kitchen mantelpiece and peered inside. We're running low, Arthur. We'll have to buy some more today. Oh, well, guess first. After you, Harry dear. And she offered him the flower pot. Harry stared at them, all watching. What am I supposed to do? He stammered. He's never travelled by Floo powder before, said Ron suddenly. Sorry, Harry, I forgot. Never? Said Mr. Weasley. But how did you go to Diagon Alley to buy your school things last year? I went on the underground. Really? With the escalators? How exactly? Not now, Arthur, said Mrs. Weasley. Floo powder's a lot quicker, dear. But goodness me, if you never used it before. He'll be all right, Mum, said Fred. Harry, watch us first. He took a pinch of glittering powder out of the flower pot, stepped up to the fire and threw the powder into the flames. With a roar, the fire turned emerald bright green and rose higher than Fred, who stepped right into it, shouted, "Diagon Alley," and vanished. "You must speak clearly, dear," said Mrs. Weasley told Harry as George dipped his hand into the flower pot. "And mind you get out at the right grate." "The right what?" So Miss had said Harry as a fire roared and whipped George out of sight too. "Well, is an awful lot of wizard fires to choose from, you know, but as long as you've spoken clearly, we'll be fine, don't fuss," said Mr. Weasley, helping himself to Fleur powder too. "But dear, if you got lost, how would we ever explain to his aunt and uncle? They wouldn't mind. Dudley would think it was a brilliant joke if I got lost out a chimney. Don't worry about that." Well, all right. You go after Arthur," said Mrs. Weasley. "Now, when you get into the fire, you say where you're going and keep your elbows tucked in when advised and eyes shut. That's it. Don't fidget," said Ron, "or you might fall out to the wrong fireplace. But don't panic and get out too early. Wait until you see Fred and George." Trying hard to bear all this in mind, Harry took a pinch of Fleur powder and walked to the edge of the fire. He took a deep breath, scattered the powder into the flames, and stepped forward. The fire felt like a warm breeze. He opened his mouth and immediately swallowed a lot of hot ash. The Diagon Alley," he coughed. It felt as though he was being sucked down a giant plug hole. He seemed to be spinning very fast. The roaring in his ears were deafening. He tried to keep his eyes shut, but the whirl of green flames made him feel sick. Something hard knocking his elbow as he tucked in tightly, still spinning and spinning. Now it felt as though a cold hand was slapping his face. Squinting. Now it felt as though cold hands were slapping his face. Squinting through his glasses as he saw a large stream of fireplaces. His bacon sandwiches were churning inside him. Dizzy and bruised, covered in soot. He got gingerly to his feet. He was quite alone, but where he was no idea. A glass case nearby held a withered hand on a cushion, a blood-stained pack of cards, and an evil glass eye. Even worse, the dark, narrow street. Harry could see the dusty shop window. It was definitely not Diagon Alley. The sooner he went there, Harry looked quickly around and spotted a large black cabinet to his left. He shot inside it and pulled the doors to. Leaving a small crack to appear through. Seconds later, a bell clanged and Malfoy stepped into the shop. The man who followed could only be his father. He had the same pale, pointed face and identical cold grey eyes. Mr. Malfoy crossed the shop, looking lazily at the items on display, and rang a bell on the counter for turning to his son and saying, "Touch nothing, Draco Malfoy." Malfoy, he had reached for the glass. I said, I thought you were going to buy me a present. I said I would buy you a racing broom, said his father, drumming his fingers on the counter. What's the good of that if I'm not on the house team, said Malfoy, looking sulky and bad-tempered. Harry Potter's got a number 2000 last year. Special permission from Dumbledore so he could play for Gryffindor. He's not even that good, just because he's famous for having a stupid scar on his forehead. Everyone thinks he's so smart when for Potter with his scar and broomstick. You have told me this at least a dozen times already, said Mr. Malfoy with a quelling look at his son. And I would remind you that it's not prudent to appear less than fond of Harry Potter, not when most of our kind regard him as a hero who made the Dark Lord disappear. Ah, Mr. Borgin. Mr. Malfoy, what a pleasure to see you again, said Mr. Borgin in a voice. I'm not buying today, Mr. Borgin, but selling. Selling? You've heard, of course, the ministry is conducting more raids. Mr. Borgin fixed a pince nez to his nose and looked down the list. I have not been visited yet. The name Malfoy still commands certain respect, yet the ministry grows more meddlesome. There are rumours about a new Muggle Protection Act. No doubt that flea-bitten, Muggle-loving fool Arthur Weasley's behind it. Harry felt a hot surge of anger, and as you see, certain of these poisons might make it appear. I understand, sir, of course. Let me see. Can I have that? Interrupted Draco, pointing at the withered hand on the cushion. I hope my son, the hand of glory, said Mr. Borgin. Insert a candle and it gives light only to the hold. Best friend of thieves and plunderers. Your son has fine taste, sir. I hope my son will amount to more than a thief or plunderer. No offence, sir, no offence meant. Though if his school marks don't pick up, said Mr. Malfoy more coldly, so then that may be all he's fit for. It's not my fault, retorted Draco. The teachers all have favourites. I would have thought that Hermione Granger. I would have thought you'd be ashamed that a girl of no wizarding family beat you in every exam, snapped Mr. Malfoy. Ha! Said Harry under his breath, pleased to see Draco looked both abashed and angry. It's the same all over, said Mr. Borgin in his oily voice. Wizard blood is coming from left everywhere. He paused to examine a long coil of hangman's rope and to read, smartly, the card propped on a magnificent necklace of opals. Caution, do not touch. Curse has it claimed the lives of 19 Muggle owners to date. Draco turned away and saw the cabinet right in front of him. He walked forward, stretched out the hand. Done, said Mr. Malfoy. Come, Draco. Harry wiped his forehead on his sleeve as Draco turned away. Good day to you all, Mr. Borgin. I expect you at the Manor House will come tomorrow at the book. The moment the door had closed, Mr. Borgin dropped his oily manner. Good day to yourself, Mr. Malfoy. And if the stories are true, you haven't sold half of what's hidden in your manor. Muttering darkly, Mr. Borgin disappeared into a back room. Clutching his broken glasses to his face, Harry stared around. He had emerged in a large, dingy alleyway that seemed to be made up of shops. The one he'd just left. Borgin and Burke's looked like the largest, but opposite was a large one. Feeling jumpy, Harry set off. A wooden street sign hanging a shop selling poisonous candles told him he was in Nocturne Alley. This didn't help. He supposed he hadn't clearly spoken enough through the mouthful of ashes back in the Weasley's fire. Trying to stay calm, he wondered what to do. Not lost, are you, my dear? Said the voice making him jump. Bye-bye.